Yo, what's up, y'all? We got another great guest. Everyone, welcome to The Empire, where we like to engage with everyone from pastors to actors, rappers to trappers, and everybody in between. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? I'm not glitching. I'm just saying it a lot of times. But guess what? We have another amazing guest for today. My name is Antonio Lee Miles. I am your host, and our guest, he is the founder, CEO of Innov8 Technologies, which deals with AR, VR, and many other things. But we'll let him talk about it. And that gentleman's name is Abdul Gieballa. Abdul, welcome to the Empire.
Thank you so much, Anthony. It is a pleasure. I'm very excited to sit down with you today and discuss everything AR, VR, and everything in between.
I love it, man. And so how's your day been so far, bro?
Actually, I haven't even slept yet. I've been up since midnight. I took a weird nap middle of the day yesterday, woke up around midnight, and then, sleep has evaded the eyes. Emails and proposals thought I got a head start and a jump on my day. And then once I got to the morning and saw the sun creep up, I'm like, you know what? Let's continue.
Got you. Are you tired at all?
Not yet, but I feel it kicking in.
Uh-oh. He's gonna be in the middle of our interview, folks. He's gonna be like,
"Oh no, definitely not. That's the reward after the interview."
Okay, it's gonna be like your itis. Basically, we're gonna fill you up with so much stuff. You're gonna be like,
exactly.
Oh man, why do you think you couldn't sleep? What do you think that was about?
I am a night owl. First and foremost, that is when I find my peace, my solace. The world kind of stops and slows down a little bit. The whole time, your mind runs a million miles an hour. And so the nighttime, it's like you don't have any much distractions. All your friends are asleep. Family and the world around you is a little bit more peaceful. And then it's kind of like, I've as much of an extrovert person that I am, I love my me time. I love, being intrusive with my own thoughts. I love to do and watch things that bring me joy. So I usually find solace, like I said, in the nighttime where, it's I get to spend time with me, myself, and I.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I heard recently, I think it said 70% of animals are nocturnal or something like that. And I was like, whoa, that's intense.
Hopefully it just doesn't, mess up the health, long term, because, the benefits of, getting a good night's sleep and seeing the sun and kind of getting your vitamins and whatnot and being part of, the living society in the morning.
Yeah.
Is one thing. But for the time being right now, we're still a little bit young. We can handle it.
Yeah, but you definitely got to take care of that temple, man. Definitely got to take care of that temple.
Absolutely.
I think they call it like circadian rhythm or something like that.
Yep.
I believe they call it.
Yep.
And I guess there's a reason I call us people of the sun, up with the sun.
That's true.
With the sun.
That's true.
But Abdul, for people who may not know who you are and the things that you do, can you please let us all know who you are and the things that you do?
Absolutely. It'll be my pleasure. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Abdul Gieballa. I am a first-generation Sudanese American. My family are immigrants from Sudan, which is currently right now and very sadly going through essentially war, a civil war that's happening that has displaced over 4 million people. So, thoughts and prayers with them and everybody out there that is struggling in the world right now. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. My background essentially is I'm an LA native. I grew up in LA. I live, breathe LA. I am a diehard Lakers fan. So don't play up on my Lakers right now. Hopefully any team wins the championship, but the Boston Celtics. But my background actually is in engineering. And from a very young age, I've been a very ambitious individual. I'm highly competitive. And I've always lived with this why of wanting to create something everlasting in the world, do something drastic that really benefits society, blend it with my personal passions, my skill set, and my technical background. And that kind of led me down the engineering route and ultimately to found this startup company called Innov8 Tech, which is an immersive and it is an equitably immersive VR and AR marketing company. And we also serve as a marketing agency where we provide essentially, end-to-end solutions for businesses and clients by leveraging the VR and AR tech that we have for them to kind of, broadcast and showcase their products, their services, and things of that nature in very unique and engaging ways. So that's kind of the brief little, elevator pitch of what Innov8 Tech is and what the why behind it is. And been doing this now for a little over 7 years.
Wow. And so, what did you get your engineering in?
So I actually got my engineering degree in mechanical engineering.
Aha.
And engineering has changed a lot, I would say, from what people conventionally think engineering is.
Yeah.
Growing up in mechanical engineering, you thought you'd work in car engines and car engines alone, and you would work for airline company or Boeing or something of that nature, and kind of be stuck in that role for the rest of your life. That's kind of how the baby boomers lived and whatnot. But in today's day and age, everything is so interdisciplinary. You're a mechanical engineer, but you're doing computer science work. You're doing nanoparticle work. It's such an interdisciplinary thing now where you kind of touch base on a lot of different industries, a lot of different disciplines. And that's kind of always been something that that has intrigued me, because I honestly pride myself in being a Swiss Army knife. How they say, I'd rather be a jack of all trades and kind of be above average in a multitude of different things than be a specialist in a certain niche. I like putting on different hats. I pride myself in being able to be adaptable and fill different types of roles. So, the closer I got towards, the end of my education path and going into the job market, I didn't want to be limited. I had so many ideas. I had so many different passions and things that I felt like, with the right mindset, with the right why, and going in with the intentions of wanting to do something that adds value to the world, I was able to come up with the idea for this company, where I just thought that the technology has always existed, but it was very underutilized, and so kind of came up with this business plan of how to leverage AR VR tech to provide practical solutions where I felt were parts of the industries that highly needed it but was lacking in it, and that's kind of what drove me down this path.
Nice. So I guess two things, which is the first one is, do you think that there's still a high demand and need for engineers, STEM, in America?
I think we need STEM more than ever. We see, especially in America, but you see how far behind we're falling in comparison to the rest of the world. One of the things from all the travels and just knowledge of this global economy that we live in now, America is getting beat, and we're getting beat pretty badly. China, India, places in Europe, Africa. I think the one thing that America has, we have the resources, and we have kind of the brand. I would say, I think America, that's the one thing that they do better than anybody else, is branding and marketing. But China is nipping at our heels. India's right there. Some of the smartest people that I've met were international students, and I think the need for STEM is always going to be there, because things are only getting more difficult. Our problems are only getting more harder to solve. So we need critical thinking skills. We need strong foundation and fundamentals in the sciences and the maths to be able to solve these new world problems. So engineering is always going to be needed. I think engineering is well beyond just the conventional idea of engineering, but it, like I said, it develops those critical thinking skills. It allows you to see the world in a more analytical way, in a more practical way. So I think engineering, STEM is essential. And I would even argue in today's day and age, and with the cost of education, and that's a topic for something else with regards how expensive it's gotten and why it's even that expensive. I would say to get the best bang for your buck would be to invest in a STEM related major. if you're going to go the higher education route.
Yeah, which makes sense because that's our whole world is basically technological based. And you mentioned earlier that you see that there's some companies could benefit from, the things that your business offers. Can you explain some companies that kind of came to mind and that made you think, hey, you know what, these people could really benefit from the services that I could offer for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would start off by saying that the why of every mission of somebody that does, anything kind of down the entrepreneur route is understanding your why. And my why has always been equitability, equity, and equity for the sense of you can't get equality without equity. You have to build systems and infrastructures that are, specific and able to compensate for the lack of equity for certain individuals, for certain businesses, and whatnot. And so with VR and AR, I look at things that I like first and foremost. Being an kid that comes from not wealth, seeing kind of the inequities that are out there in life. For example, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm a big sports fan. Growing up as a kid, didn't have too much money. Diehard Lakers fan, but I'll be like, man, I would die to be front row at a Lakers game, but unfortunately, couldn't afford it. And then, I thought, well, it's not just me out there, but there are millions and billions of people out there for whatever reason, whether it's financial constraints, whether it's physical limitations, whether it's things of that nature. And then that kind of really started to spark that plug in my head where I was like, okay, imagine if there was a VR immersive experience opportunity out there where I'm not necessarily trying to replace the reality and the physical experiences of things. I just want to add an alternative virtual layer to level the playing field for the people who couldn't experience or get access to some of those things. Other ways, I would say in terms of, we talk about, being sustainable for certain companies. The biggest overhead costs for companies is their marketing spending budgets. So what are ways that we can substitute conventional media marketing strategies, like, billboards and print out flyers and things of that nature with more digital solutions and smart digital solutions that not only are sustainable from conventional ways, but also ways that are now more engaging, more enticing, more interesting, and give their audience and their customers a new experience and new ways to interact with their products. It's the VR AR aspect of what we do is honestly applicable to a multitude of different industries. I mean, we've serviced real estate industries when it comes to property tours. People don't have to travel to physical locations. They can pop on a VR headset or go on to a VR enabled website that has 360 virtual tours of properties that they might be interested in. We've done things in terms of job training where, there are certain job training environments that are, very high risk. And it's not really a safe environment for a newly onboarded person to jump right into. So you can honestly use virtual solutions to train them in a more safe manner. And then it's also cost saving for a lot of these companies to kind of do these alternative virtual solutions and routes. I think there's a saying that they say where you don't let a crisis go to waste. As unfortunate and sad as COVID was honestly a blessing in disguise for the work that we do, because it really showcased to people in the world that these virtual solutions that we provide are no longer a luxury, but rather a necessity and a firewall for businesses to have ready to go in case of an emergency like that. As another alternative for them to have at their disposal if need be. So that was kind of one of the a great moment that really kind of made our proof of concept more widely accepted and garnered us a little bit more business in that sense. Like I said, there's so many different industries. We have ideas for education. We have ideas for travel and tourism. We have ideas for, just general entertainment. I would say our bread and butter at the moment is the entertainment industry, and audiences are always looking for new immersive ways and interactive ways for them to interact and consume their favorite brands and favorite artists and,
Sure.
favorite experiences.
What I like is that, well, a couple of things, and I'll start with the COVID thing, which is so surprising that so many people actually benefited from it, or like their business exploded from it and things like that. Also, I like the part how you said it becomes cost effective for a lot of businesses and things like that, which is so cool. And obviously, over time, and this is just my opinion, and I guess it could probably be statistically proven, is that this is just going to be this thing that you're doing is just going to become more and more part of the norm, right? Like this is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, right? But Abdul, before we continue, I just want to see if you can give us a short little background story. I know you're an anime guy. Background story of how you grew up, where you grew up, all the way up to the gentleman you are today. You can give us just a brief little story about that. Share that with
Uh,
us.
uh, yeah, sure thing. No, absolutely. Um, so I would say my story begins with my family um, immigrating from Sudan back in the early 80s. They initially left because my great uncle, who I'm named after, unfortunately got sick and needed medical attention. So that allowed them to, seek medical help and eventually came out to the U.S. Straight to Los Angeles. He got the medical attention that he needed, and slowly but surely, LA kind of became home for them, and they started to trickle in. So my family's been out here since the 80s. I was actually born in Sudan. I was born in Sudan, and I moved out here with my mom when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in LA my whole life. Like I said, growing up, having my whole family out here, it was. I feel like I'm American, like I'm an LA native. I was born here. I went to school from pre-K onwards. I've lived in LA my whole life. I've actually lived within probably like a 5 mile radius my whole life.
Wow.
So then that kind of gave me a desire and want inside to travel and see the world. And I've been very fortunate. I would say over the last couple of years, I've gotten to travel and see a lot of places in the world. A lot of that I have to attribute to this tech startup. I've been in circles and in rooms with idols of mine. I've gotten to experience things that I would have never gotten. I would say through the work that I do, and I'm very grateful. And it's even a little bit more rewarding when it comes from something that is a brainchild of yours. I would say. Like I said, growing up as a kid, I was highly competitive. I loved sports. I loved the spotlight. I loved, public speaking. Some of my hobbies here and there. Anime. I had my little anime runs. That was kind of my first love and introduction, honestly, into art. And then, kind of like every inner city, African American child, there definitely needs to be a study about the effects of anime and why we relate so much to it. I think there's a very deep connection with Japanese culture, I would say, with the inner city African American population. Um, and then just kind of, different types of music, things about me that I love to do on my free time. I love conscientious hip hop. I'm a big Lupe Fiasco fan. Love J. Cole. But then I also have a soft spot for the oldies in the 80s. I was the first of my cousins. So I'm the oldest of my cousins. And in our family dynamic, I kind of serve as the bridge between generations.
Mm,
So not only do I listen, to the new age, the Drakes, the Lupes, things of that nature, but my favorite artist growing up as a kid was Michael Jackson.
of course.
I grew up listening to, Bob Marley and Whitney Houston and Phil Collins. That was what was playing around the house all the time. I honestly didn't start listening to hip hop seriously until like the 2010s. At first, just I couldn't relate to it. The era that I grew up in, the 50 Cent, Eminem, even though I liked the music, it never really resonated. I was more of the the romantic, suave. I was the R&B type. I was the Ushers,
Okay.
growing up, that type of mood. But
Cowboy
you know,
Bebop.
yeah. So I would say I pride myself in being well-rounded, you know. So that's kind of the little taste of what makes Abdul Abdul. And then obviously, I was always the book nerd, the school academics. That was kind of my whole thing. I was supposed to be a basketball player, but the height gods did not bless me. So by
Okay.
the time by the time middle school rolled around, I was like, yeah, time to hit the books.
It's funny. It reminds me of I was listening to a gentleman, and he was saying that he went to a bar mitzvah. He's invited to a bar mitzvah, and one of the kids, he always wanted to be a basketball player, but he was sat down by like an elder. He said, "Hey, you know what? You'll never have the height to
Yeah,
be a basketball player, or maybe the skills, but you can own a basketball team."
that's true. That's true. So mine, instead of trying to be the next Kobe Bryant, I'm trying to be the next Mark Cuban.
You know, or Jordan, right? I guess, right? Jordan
Or
or he
Jordan.
worked, right?
But Jordan wasn't that great of a GM or an owner. I like Mark Cuban a little bit more.
Okay, I got you. It's funny because I think someone was talking about what's his name? Something Sterling that owned the Clippers.
Donald Sterling.
Yeah, someone was mentioning him the other day, and about. Anyway, we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of owning basketball. But I just want to say really quick for everybody who's just joining the live, we're here with Abdul, who's the owner of Innov8 Technologies. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Please like the video if you haven't. Please subscribe to the channel. We're working with many great guests. My name is Antonio Lee Miles, and we just talked about a little bit about his upbringing, some of the companies. And I'm kind of curious, maybe we can help clarify for people, Abdul, what is the difference from AR and VR? And what is augmented reality and what is virtual reality? If you can explain that for
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely. So they are pretty similar and also pretty different. And the best way I would say to differentiate between the two is virtual reality. Think about it as uh, a new 360 environment. So when you look around and you see the world around you right now, a VR environment replaces everything around you and puts you in an artificial constructed or a recreation of a different setting from the one that you're currently in. It gives you 360 viewpoint, so you get some degrees of freedom, whether to move around and look right, left, up, down, behind you, all that stuff. And then there's like VR games where you can actually move within these 3D constructed worlds, and you get more movement and uh, capabilities in that sense. Augmented reality is not replacing your immediate environment. Rather, it is placing elements within your real life environment. So it's placing a digital twin or object in your immediate environment where it makes it look like it's actually in front of you in your living room or whatever it might be. Virtual reality is transporting you to a different environment. So I think that is what the simplest difference explanation between augmented reality and virtual reality.
Yeah, and it's so cool. I have I took it down, but I used to have this. I don't know if I want to share it with people. Basically, I had a thing called the future of laser tag, and it's kind of related to what we're talking about, and it's kind of like coming to for like the technology is kind of catching up to it, and so maybe I'll talk to you one day about actually trying to do it. It's gonna need some investors, but I think it'll be really fun because, in my opinion, I think people like not only playing games, but I think people still like the concept and the aspect of being physically around other people.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and so this what I call the future of laser tag is like the combination of the two, right? And also like how you said how we were talking about um, fixing the iniquities, which
Yep.
will also make it ADA friendly. I think that's ADA. So I think that's the right word, which is for the disability, people with disabilities, also making it accessible for them to be part of the game and things like that. And so, Abdul, when we talk about augmented reality, I want to share something that you've helped that you gave to me that I want to share with the audience, and maybe you can help explain what's going on, what it is, and how this is augmented reality for us. Is it
Sure
okay?
thing. Go ahead.
All right, let's do it, man. Talk to us about this, bro.
So this is actually an idea that we had of how can we push the boundaries of merchandising, and specifically, fandoms. We know a lot of people, buy memorabilia. They want to buy collector items, collectibles from the brands and the things that they love. But we wanted to take it a step further, and we wanted to raise the level of engagement that an audience gets from buying an article collectible of this. So, for people who aren't familiar, that design right there is of an anime called Cowboy Bebop. It is one of the most famous animes in history, especially in the Western side of the world. It has one of the most iconic opening theme songs. And so we had this idea. It was actually a proof of concept. It was just something that I played around with uh, for my own personal, appeal, and posted it on social media. And it actually garnered close to almost 2 million impressions at the moment. And the idea behind it, the concept of it was, I was thinking, man, these, I was thinking more of like the entertainment side of things. Musicians that go on tour and they have, corresponding merch lines. I went to a concert, I think it was like the weekend or something. And when I tell you that they were selling articles for like 60, 70, 80, $100, specifically for the concert experience. And I got this idea when I was like, okay, if we took a brand or an artist, and obviously people love the artist and they want something to, commemorate the experience with. Um, but just the t-shirt alone, what if we added something beyond that? What if there was a way to give them an exclusive experience? What if we were able to give them a way for not only the customer, but for the content creator to directly communicate with their audience? What if there was a way for them to monetize this experience using the technology that we have? So we kind of came up with this idea of whatever design gets printed on these merchandise, we would code the camera on your mobile phone, so it works on any phone, to the moment the camera detects that design, using our coded filter, that it would unlock embedded content directly on the t-shirt. And so now you get exclusive embedded content that is only accessible through the t-shirt with the AR filter. And where it really gets mind-blowing is that because the design never changes on the t-shirt and everything is coded digitally, the embedded content can be periodically updated. So now you have a living piece of merchandise and memorabilia. And then we thought, okay, how can we make this a little bit more crazier? And this is kind of around the hype of, the NFTs and all that stuff that was going on. Now we were like, okay, so on the same t-shirt, not only can you embed exclusive content, not only can you directly reach your audience, but because it's also digital, we're not going off of projections. We can see live analytics of usership, of how many times these use cases were doing it, and then be able to monetize that stuff. So whether you want to monetize it on a per click basis, whether you want to do kind of like a subscription model to those things, and because it's periodically updated, the overhead upkeep for the content creator is very low cost. And it just essentially becomes a t-shirt or an article or a poster or something of that nature that can forever have different iterations of it in, down the line. And then lastly was, now what are the different applications beyond just the entertainment industry? I'll give you two examples. I'll give you one of the entertainment industry for that, like say the music artist. So, people can really grasp the idea. Let's imagine Drake drops an album and the album has 12 songs. Let's say there was a 13th song that wasn't released on that album. and only people that bought this limited edition 100-unit t-shirt for this album got access to that 13th song via their merchandise. And then I always like to say, we weren't the first people to think of this idea. We just, like Isaac Newton used to say, if I am able to see farther, it is because I stand on the shoulders of giants. The late, great Nipsey Hussle and one of his, collaborators, Idris Sandu, who was also a young entrepreneur, tech genius in this world right now. They did this with his marathon store, where they wanted to drive foot traffic to his store by embedding snippets of music videos and exclusive content on the merchandise, but it was only accessible at the physical location of the store. So now we took that idea and concept and said, now how can we bring that beyond what they were doing? And then lastly, because everything that I come up with regards to these solutions and how I pitch it to businesses and clients is, hey, this would be a really cool way for you to showcase your content and your audience would be blown away by it. But now the real seller is, what utility does it provide for you as a business? This is a unique marketing strategy, one. It is a great way for you to, live monitor and get data analytics. And then three, which is I think the biggest one, and this is a whole nother industry that we're trying to tackle at the moment, but authentication and protection of intellectual property. So this would be a way for, like I said, by integrating the NFTs and the blockchains and the AR tech and the marketing strategy and this and that, now you can actually do a self-verification authentication method. So when I buy from you that, memorabilia from Kobe Bryant's jersey, and I scan the logo and it doesn't animate, I know it's a counterfeit. So it's one way for me as a customer to protect me from buying something that's not authentic. It's one way for the producer to give me unique, intimate experiences that only I would have access to if I bought their merchandise. So they incentivize me. And then it's, the monetization aspect of things really draws, money from all different places. It shores up losses from the counterfeiting market. And then it becomes kind of this, perpetual cycle of the more you do, the more you provide, the more value you bring to it. It can be a never-ending cycle of revenue generation. So where we're at is at the intersection of all this stuff and making people, number one, aware. I would say, the technology has always existed. It's people don't know that it exists. They don't know how to utilize it. And it's our job to not only develop and build these products, but it's to put it in front of them, showcase to them, and tell them what value does it provide for them. And that is what Innov8 Tech is essentially all about. And this is the mission that we're going. It's getting a little bit easier now because people are a little bit more aware. They're starting to see more and more VR, AR, and whatnot. And so they're starting to finally grasp the actual potential of this tech and what it actually can do for them.
Yeah, it's so cool. I really love the intellectual property aspect of it because that's going to be, obviously you can already, it's going to be game changer because it can work for across multiple platforms, multiple industries, and it's just proofreading. And I also like the aspect of connecting it with the blockchain, and for people who don't know the blockchain, just think about if you ever heard of Bitcoin and stuff like that. Think of things like that, ladies and gentlemen, which is different story, different time, but I think it's super fascinating. And I guess a question that comes to me and maybe other people are thinking is like, how does that work? How does someone have a shirt on and then anyone can lift up any of their phones and everyone gets the same thing? How does that work? How does that happen? How is that possible?
So it's technically an illusion.
Okay.
But essentially what the design is and what we do is we code a design or an image the same way you would add, you would drop a URL link into a QR code generator.
Okay.
So essentially that design becomes a QR code that your camera reads, and with a little bit of clever of, some Photoshop editing and, Adobe Premiere and some of those beautiful editing softwares, it's just an overlay. The camera overlay of the filter gives you the illusion that the t-shirt comes to life, or the poster comes to life, or whatever it is. So it's very simple in its nature, but it's such a very powerful tool in terms of what it can do. It can not only display, like I said, the embedded content, but the content can be updatable. It can drive people to a call to action. So you can directly off of the filter, the link pops up at the end where it say, hey, you want to learn more? You want to purchase this product? Boom, it can direct you directly to people's websites and whatnot for conversion rates. And now with every click, the back end side of things, you get live analytics. So as a business, you get all the live analytics, and now they know which of their products are popular, which ones are underperforming, which ones are doing great. They'll know based on metadata and other analytics what regions of the world, what type of demographics are consuming their content, and it kind of helps to really bolster and polish their marketing, their products, how they deliver it, knowing what works, what doesn't. And so we kind of sit there as kind of the end-to-end solution agency that not only builds these activations in-house, but we come up with the campaigns. We use our market research of case studies and things that we've done, what we know works, what we know has performed well in the past, and tailor specific campaigns for the businesses and clients that reach out to us.
Wow. It made me think of, like, I don't know why I think of the movie Blade, but it makes me think of, like, I guess, like secret societies or secret clandestine clubs. Like they can really benefit from this type of technology where it's like, hey, if you point your camera right here, you'll be able to see little things. So if it's not already being done.
And one of the things that I would really like to mention with regards to that is people are looking for new experiences. What we currently have, convention now, has become overly saturated. With every great time in history, that follows a new technology or a new thing that gets introduced, people are looking for the next hot thing, and then that usually drives new businesses and industries and blows things to different proportions. I like to go back kind of like the analogy with regards to music. It's like, Elvis wouldn't have been Elvis if the radio wasn't there. Michael Jackson wouldn't have been Michael Jackson if music videos and MTV wasn't really there. This day and age, like the Drakes and them, if the internet and YouTube wasn't there. So now it's like, now all those things are overly saturated. There are a lot of great content creators and businesses out there that are not being seen and not being known because the mediums are so overly saturated. So now we want to provide a new medium, a new platform, a new era. And like I said, keeping in mind of how this can be accessible and equitable across the board. You could obviously have tier level based things based on different individuals and different businesses, but at the end, understand that the mission is to democratize these platforms for everybody to take advantage of, because anybody will benefit from it if given the access to it. And, coming from being a minority tech entrepreneur myself and just an individual like that, is seeing, there's a lot of talent and a lot of people with great ideas that never got opportunities. So it is our duty to, as, developers and entrepreneurs and founders and CEOs or whatever, is to provide these people with tools, give them the tools and let them run away with it. We right now we serve as an agency where we, like I said, we develop these products and we also come up with these ideas and use cases for them. But ultimately at the end, we just want to build a platform and an infrastructure that is open to the public, open to people, and let them jump on board and do what they do. And off of that, I really do have to say, got to give a shout out to, I think, one of the companies that's doing that very well and is one of the lead innovators when it comes to AR, Snapchat. Snapchat has been killing the game when it comes to AR integration and all the things that they're doing. It is absolutely amazing. And they have not only provided a platform and tools for the average user for free to build on their platform. They've created a very lucrative creator program to monetize and compensate those individuals. So Snapchat is doing a lot of great work in this realm right now.
Wow, and that's one thing that probably people don't think is that Snapchat, because you get all those filters and those things, and people are not thinking. And I notice you guys have a lot of different filters on there, and I'll probably talk about them as well. But what came to mind is that making this accessible to everybody and things like that. I really think like the Google and the Apple eyewear that's happening.
Yeah.
That's going to be, obviously it's already using it. It's intertwining with the AR VR world, right? Would you say?
Mm-hmm. It is. It's just the only problem with those right now is the entry level price point is a little steep for everybody to come into.
Yeah.
But it's amazing technology. It's probably deserving of it. But like I said, I'd rather have 1 million customers and charge them $1 than have 2 customers and charge them 10,000.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's the volume, it's the quantity, and like I said, it's not even that on a one-time transactional basis, but now you've created opportunities where you have potential revenue that can come in from a sponsorship side of things, from advertising side of things, from third parties. You have eyeballs, you have an audience, you have people, you have a community. Like that to me is more valuable than a one-time transaction.
Yes.
And we briefly touched upon this earlier when we discussed kind of the blockchain and the NFTs being kind of ultimately we want to integrate this more and more into what we do. It's the fact that not only does businesses or content creators make money on the initial transaction or the initial purchase, but there are royalties that can get automatically coded into the NFT blockchain where they get residual royalties down the line on secondary, tertiary transactions.
Yep.
So content creators will always, like, imagine if, Van Gogh, how many times the Mona Lisa has been switched from hands to hands, and Da Vinci, from hands to hands and whatnot, if he was still getting revenue royalties on all those different purchases.
Yeah, or his estate.
Something like that. So it's like, it's one, like I said, going back to protection of intellectual property, fairly compensating content creators for what they do because they are the product. They are the product.
Yes,
I don't care what platform you have or what platform you own.
Tell them.
Instagram does not create a product. The content creators are the product.
Tell them, Abdul. Tell them.
Giving content creators, empowering them, one, incentivizing them, secondly, and then giving their audiences new ways to enjoy and consume their content. 3, and then do that in a way that it's equitable, that it's accessible. It's our duty to create those platforms. So that's kind of that's where our mission and our why is.
I love that. If Abdul, this idea just came to me right now because I know you're big into music. If you're able to figure out a way to, in essence, replace Spotify and things like that, these streaming platforms for these artists, to get them like direct to consumer and to become that place, a lot, because I think the Congress just recently passed a bill for them to get now a penny a stream as opposed to like 0.0001 or something like that. Yeah. So that's already game changer already. You know what I mean? If people can start doing that. And Absolutely. Speaking of, go ahead. Can you say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that it's one of the things that I really like to encourage young entrepreneurs and specifically people of color is these institutions that we might have certain criticisms for with regards to some of these social media platforms, some of their limitations and restrictions, or, how, Spotify jibs or, YouTube doesn't fairly compensate their content creators, things. It's one thing to criticize. Now, what are you going to do about it?
There we go.
Because for them, they have no incentive to change. If they're benefiting and they know you have no other option but to use them, what are you going to do? And they're not going to do anything until you challenge them. And like I always tell people, I would love to build a platform as big as those companies and be as successful as them. But if I'm even remotely threatening the idea for the benefit of the customer or the content creators, that is a positive impact that I would feel like I succeeded in what I did. You got to apply pressure. you got to do something for the greater good, even if it doesn't have to necessarily come directly, to your company as a beneficiary. You change the game. You're gonna force them to do and act and perform things differently, because now they know, oh, people are waking up, people are seeing that this and this and that, and we better, let's do right by our content creator, by our product, and by our consumers. Because honestly, without them, that's where the true value lies.
Facts. And I think I'm 100% with you on the idea, which is like, either you can complain about it or you can solve the problem. Which
Yeah.
one do you want to do? I'll tell you, only one of them is going to work. One of them is going to make you wet. One of them is going to make your pocket wet. Which one you want? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Speaking of like artists and stuff like that, it seems that you've worked with people like Travis Scott and things like that. I think Kobe as well. I think I saw something that said like that. So, and a Laker fan, that must have been amazing. So can you tell me and share with us, what are some of the things that you did for these people, and was it similar? And yeah, can you just share your thoughts with us and your experiences with these individuals?
Absolutely. So, yeah, been very fortunate to work with some high profile individuals. Um, you know, did multitudes of different types of projects with them. For example, like the Travis Scott um, project was a music video shoot, and they wanted to get certain shots that were only possible with 360 VR cameras. And so capturing that footage that way and then putting it through some post production editing, they were able to use it in their music video. So that was a really cool experience. It was really cool because we got hired for that project, not knowing who we were working with until we actually like showed up to the venue. And it was like, they had like code names for, the script and the schedule. Like, yeah, we're going to shoot here with artist T and da da da. And then you pull up to the stage and it's like, all right, Abdul, go and shoot. And it's like, oh, Travis Scott. That's pretty cool. The Kobe one was actually a very crazy story. And I want to, highlight this little nugget of things where if you don't believe that cold emailing works, think again. People respond to emails if you provide value, if you come up with a unique idea. Most of the projects that I've done and gotten hired for have come through either cold emails or, just people seeing your work out there. Sometimes, you might not see the results instantly for some of the work that you put out and showcase, and you're doing a lot of free work, I would say, just to, build awareness around your brand and your product and what you do. But people watch. There are always people watching.
Yeah.
And so if you do good work and if you do things that add value, those people will find you. For the Kobe event, which was, I think, probably one of my personal highlights of my life, it was a cold email. He was doing an entrepreneur conference out here in Southern California. And this was actually, I think it was the second to last event that he did before his passing. And it was just a cold email where I wanted to go to the event. I saw the ticket prices of general admission, and I was like, yeah, I can't afford that. And then I was like, I wonder why they're not doing a live stream. Like, there's ways for them to monetize and make more money off of this, because people will tune in to see or hear Kobe talk.
Facts.
So I found out who the organizers of the event were, reached out to them via email. And in the email was just like, hey, I'm very interested in this event. I want to propose a live stream, but I want to propose a VR live stream, an immersive experience where you would literally allow people from anywhere in the world to tune in as if they were physically there. And it could be a discounted ticket. You guys are already sold out. So a virtual ticket can only expand your revenue shares without you having to do any more work. Like, you don't have to do any more added work, but allow us to come in, do what we do, broadcast and things of that nature. And essentially they were like, hey, we don't know exactly what you're proposing. We don't know what you're going to do, but it sounds like a low risk, high reward for us. So come and do what you want to do. And then the hard part is when you're starting out trying to prove your legitimacy, trying to prove your product, if you take everything and you don't ask for a certain pay, or your pay is not you don't want to scare them away, but at the same time, you want to get paid because you don't want to do free work.
Yeah.
One of the best strategies I would say is find a way for you to add value by limiting the amount of risk that your client has to take and incentivizing them on a revenue share model where it's like, hey, man, we're going to come in, do this work. It's going to cost us this and that. We believe in our work. We know our product is solid, and we don't make money unless you make money. Or you can pay an a la carte fee, and then, it is what it is. Sometimes people, some of these companies, they pull out that money from their marketing budgets or their, miscellaneous funds and whatnot. Some people, because they might not have planned for it or don't understand it, they might just say, hey, come and demo it for us. Even if you have to demo it, having that footage and adding those things to your portfolio will get you paid opportunities down the line. You just need the content and that project. And that's kind of how that little project panned out to be. We shot that event. The list goes on with some of the people that we've worked with, and I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of them. But every project was unique. Every approach is a little different. And then once you kind of got those accolades under your belt and people start to really notice what you do and the uniqueness of what we do, then it starts becoming word of mouth. You've kind of built a level of authority online or with similar circles. And it's like, you'll be surprised how many people keep showing up in the same rooms in all these different places that you do, and how many people start knowing you from what you do. It's a blessing, but it doesn't happen overnight. And even until it's still a struggle, but it's the journey that really makes it fun. And when it's something that you're passionate about, it honestly doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, they say Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Exactly.
And what I wanted to say, which was, oh, there goes my train of thought again. But I was thinking, oh yeah, Kobe. I felt that, rest in peace and power. God bless that gentleman for his vision. But I felt like he was getting into this tech space and venture capital space, and I was just so eager and excited to see what he would have been doing now in this space, because I felt like his mind was already considering like investing in this space and supporting this technological phase and being a venture capitalist. And it's just like, man.
Well, I would say with regards to Kobe, I think the thing that really intrigued him post basketball was his love for storytelling. He was an amazing book writer, a narrator. Obviously, he won an Oscar for his short feature film, Dear Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of comes back into this idea of immersiveness and interactivity. It's these VR experiences that we built, whether, replicas of the real world or non-existent worlds, augmented reality, blurring the lines of reality, all come down to the concept of storytelling. How are we, bringing out a narrative through this expressive, unique medium? And I think that's what it's all about. And that's the beauty of it. Because no matter how amazing your technology is, no matter how cutting edge it is, at the end, the product and the content has to be solid.
Yeah.
What you're trying to narrate or get across to your audience, there has to be weight to that, regardless of how you deliver it. Substance. It can be the most high-tech virtual reality hologram, AR, 360 immersive experience, but if the content itself is not engaging, nobody's going to buy into it. And I think that's kind of the focus. And our focus was, we already know, based on case studies, where people's attention and, things that they want to experience are at. And now it's our job how to take that and add a virtual layer on top of it and do things in a different way for them to enjoy it and ultimately consume it. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the content.
Sorry, Abdul, can you share some of those case studies that you found about what people's interests are?
Well, I would say, first and foremost, just the entertainment industry in general.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the entertainment industry is one of those industries where it's not only such a large industry, it's on the daily. And it's one of those industries where it generates so much revenue. There's so much attention for it. Now it's more of, okay, when COVID hit, in-person venue concerts and things halted. You know, everything became digital music videos and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, now from an artist standpoint, you know, Drake is out here doing 50 show tours and on tours for 2 years. So imagine from his standpoint, not being around family, constantly on the road. And now our solution is more of like, how can we reduce his cost, his overhead, his work for him? And then how do we bring down the costs of the consumer side of things where they're not shelling out $2,000 a ticket, where they don't, maybe they're living a city where Drake is not touring and now they have to travel somewhere else. If there were virtual solutions just added on top of it, we're never trying to replace reality. We just want to have another option tagged along with these experiences so that, you know, now instead of 50 city tour, he can do a 5 city tour, and it'll be a video on demand VR experience, and it can generate revenue beyond the beyond the 100,000 seat capacity venue.
Yeah.
And those ticket prices can come down from $1,000 to $50 for his audience. And you can watch it at your convenience anytime, video on demand. So it's doing all these things and being mindful of, as a consumer, what do I want to see and what would incentivize me to use this platform? And as a content creator or a business, what utility does it serve me? How does it benefit? How does it increase my profit margins? How does it lower my overhead? And that is what we've been trying to figure out and do all these things. So, I mean, the case that, and that same formula, whether it's entertainment industry, whether it's any other type of industry, it's the same formula. How do we cut costs? How do we increase profits? How do we keep customers happy? And that's what we do.
Period. How can we enlarge our profits?
Yeah,
definitely. You know, and ladies and gentlemen, for you guys who are just tuning in, you guys are on The Empire. We're here with Abdul from Innov8 Technologies. You know, we talked about a lot about this innovations of AR and VR and how you work with clients like Travis Scott and how basically to make other options for people and businesses to increase their revenues. You know, and you are on The Empire. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you're watching the playback, yo, what's up? We have amazing other guests like this. And so back to you, Mr. Abdul. I want to go through another thing with the VR, right? Because I think we said that VR is kind of 360, right? Changes the world 360. So I want to show something with the audience and maybe you can describe and help explain a little bit about what's going on for us, okay?
Sure thing. So this is actually a combination of AR and VR.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
This is a combination of the two. So this was actually a few years ago during, I think, the COVID season, where I took a trip to Egypt and visited a lot of the historical sites that were out there. And my vision for it was, there are so many people like you know, you'll never forget the first time you go and see the pyramids. You know, this ancient structure, and you read about these things in the history books and the Egyptian, you know, the pharaohs and Pharaoh Ramses and whatnot. And then to see this stuff in person, it's like, wow, like it's so different. And then you think, how many people actually get this opportunity to actually go and visit? So I took my VR equipment, me and my team went out there, and we just wanted to start capturing some of these historical sites. And we wanted to give people an opportunity to virtually visit these sites. So the 360 aspect of it was captured in VR. And then we took that and added it into a AR Snapchat filter that people can activate on their phones and, you know, virtually pop up this portal door that they can walk through and look up, down, left, and right, and walk back out through the door. So it's these ideas, and then what will be the applications for it? So for me, I honestly immediately thought about, how can we integrate this into our schooling? You know, into like history curriculums. You know, one of the things that we face right now with a lot of these kids is their lack of attention span. And how do we make learning more interactive and immersive? So imagine if, you know, you're in class as a kid in middle school learning about ancient Egypt, and, you know, they bring up a picture of the pyramids and the pharaohs and whatnot, and next to it is a QR code that all these kids now have cell phones in their pockets, can scan, pop it up, and now the 3D structure of the pyramids and whatnot can pop up in front of their faces. I think it is one way for them to, digest the information and retain it a little bit more because it is immersive and interactive. I also think it's a way for them to kind of light that fire in their, in their hearts, where it's like, man, that's so cool. I actually want to go visit and see that in person. So now that drives tourism, that drives awareness. And I think it's just, it goes around, holistically for, benefit wise, from an education standpoint to a tourism standpoint to an education standpoint for the kids themselves, to all parties involved. It adds value to whatever you want to do. And that's kind of what the vision that we had in our mind for it. So, I mean, the possibilities and the applications are truly endless. And, somebody can think of a use case in every scenario for this, but this is just one of the examples I want to use to showcase the combination of VR and AR in, an accessible manner that anybody can pop up and use now.
Bro, it's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, it's super endless. And that's where the inequities are kind of help solved, right? For people who may not have the money to travel to Europe, or maybe may not be in the physical health to travel to Europe or anywhere in the world, they can experience like that. And you mentioned that you use your VR cameras. Is it a specific camera that you need to have, or can you use any camera to create this type of experience?
There are specific dedicated cameras for VR production.
Okay.
Essentially, it's just like a round sphere that has like different lenses all over, so it captures, every frame from every angle. There's also other solutions where you could use a singular camera, but then you have to like rig it where you get the front side up, down, left, right, and then you have to go through like post-production software to stitch all those images together. And that's a hassle.
Yeah.
But some of the cameras that we use were specifically designed for VR production. I believe the company was initially developed by Google when Google was doing their Google Earth and Street Views and Google Maps things. And then once they finished that project up, I think that company launched as a private entity and continued to develop cameras and hardware and stitching softwares and things of that nature for VR production, for cinematic uses, for things of that nature. Now there's even like, consumer, small cameras that are like this big, that people can buy for a few $100 and, strap onto a tripod and create their own little creative videos in 360 footage. So that's I would say that's another big aspect that people need to understand with regards to VR and AR, is that this technology has existed for a long time, but there were a lot of things related around the infrastructure to make it feasible, where it not only becomes an enjoyable experience from like a quality production side, from a cost-effective side, where these cameras back in the day were probably like $30,000-$40,000 a piece. Now they're still expensive, but they're more accessible and cheaper now. The post-production softwares for the editing, the quality of the cameras, where, like I said, it's really cool to see something in 360, but if that image is not clear and, high definition, then it's not a very pleasant experience. So, even though the technology and the idea might have existed for a long time, the physical or the tangible infrastructure for it to be properly utilized, that only comes with the advancement of technology. You need to have strong internet speeds so that the stream is not laggy and gives you a headache. There's other factors beyond, just the camera manufacturers' control, where they're dependent on a whole ecosystem of internet, softwares, people knowing, headset equipment, things of that nature. So it's I feel like it's at the place now where it is very high quality. It's very good. It just needs to be more adopted, needs to be more understood for the utility. And then I think that will help lead more people into its adoption and more people to create on the platforms and create some really cool things through it.
Nice. So a 360 camera is kind of basically the thing you need.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Super cool, super exciting. You know, it was making me think like to make it even next level submersive or immersive, either way, I guess the term both terms rely, is to capture live audio from the location as well. So that
Mhm.
way people could have headphones, like if they're in the rainforest or even in Egypt, like this is what it
Absolutely.
sounds like. Like that'll be a cool another adjustment.
Yeah, they have spatial audio now, where you have microphones pointed in different directions. So even when you're in this 360 environment, the sounds of the baboons in the rainforest that are behind you, that sound comes from the back, and then whatever is moving in front of you in the bushes from the front. So it gives you kind of that spatial feeling around those experiences. So yeah, the technology is definitely advancing and going in the right direction. It's only going to get more immersive and interactive. There are companies out there right now that are working on haptic feedback. So while you're in this immersive state, there's like vests and gloves and things you can wear that give you feel sensory. So if like you get hit by something, you can feel a little thump in your chest from the vest. Then there's like like I don't know if you've watched the movie Dune. They have like little like rings around their noses where they have like certain scents and perfumes based on certain experiences. So it kind of it wants to stimulate all your five senses to really truly give you that immersive experience. So technology is getting really really advanced. There's a company with a good friend of mine based out in Dallas, Texas, that have built like a VR treadmill. It's called the Omni One, where it allows you to physically walk in games, but in real life, you're like strapped onto this ring and this rig where you're not moving, but you're a little like slipping on this like treadmill of a platform, but it allows you to give you the sensation of you're walking through, VR 360 environments and the applications for that, you know, forget gaming, but it could be like you want to take a stroll down Central Park from your studio apartment in LA. You can do that. There's it gets wild.
It's super exciting. Yeah, I think I saw. I think his name is Marcus. I know he does a lot of tech reviews, and I think he went to
Yeah, Marcus
Disney.
Brownlee. Yeah.
Yes, I think he was in Disney, and they had like some type of pad doing the same type of
Yep.
thing. They're walking on
Yep.
it, and
Absolutely.
yeah. So going back to what I was saying about the future of my idea that I had about the future of laser tag, and you're talking about the sensory stuff and the
Yep.
impact. You see where I'm going?
I'm telling you, there's a company that actually does something similar right now. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Sandbox.
Okay. Yes.
So Sandbox, they have essentially these warehouses. Some they're probably like propped in certain malls, but it's like it's like a laser tag or like a escape room type of vibe. You and a couple of your friends, and they put the headsets on you, little sensors and whatnot, and it's like you play like zombie apocalypse games.
Dope.
It's a lot of
Super
fun.
dope. Super dope. We're talking about all these things with technology in the future and everything happening. Do you think, do you see people, because what I've learned about programming is that all these things don't exist unless a mind programs it to exist, right? So do you see people attacking this AR, VR technology world in nefarious ways? Do you see that happening in any sort of capacity?
I definitely think that goes for any technology out there. There's always going to be misuses, and people who are going to take advantage of technologies. It's always going to happen. It's nothing that you're going to prevent. What you can do is be mindful of it as you build it, and try to set certain uh, safety regulations. I would say to know. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that's scaring people right now is just you see how crazy artificial intelligence is getting,
Yep.
and people now are very very afraid of false advertisements, uses of propaganda. They're like the deep fakes.
Yep.
Are you able to tell the difference between a genuine video or if it was something that was doctored? So I think the responsibility one falls on the developers of building these things. I do ultimately think people are genuinely good, but there are people that are going to use it for nefarious acts. But while you build this tech, try to build things around it that can act as a check and balance for it as well. And then also the awareness aspect of things. Hey, being able to recognize counterfeits, being able to recognize misuses of this technology also needs to be public knowledge and be out there as well. At the same time, you can't always safeguard for everything. You can do the best that you can. And I think people should not be discouraged by that. Do not stop innovating and trying to make things and develop things and advance things for the fear of nothing, or will do nothing ultimately if we're gonna think of all the pros and cons of everything. So go ahead, be mindful of it, let people know about it, but don't let it ultimately stop you.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm waiting for somebody, and I think it should come sooner than later, someone to develop a device or program that can catch deep fakes, catch AI.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to those type of things to come in. And going back to technology, I saw that through my research that there's a gentleman, and I want to know your relationship with him. And I believe his name is Mr. Carver T. Williams. What's your relationship with him? How'd you guys meet? Give us a
Oh
little
man, that's my partner, Carver T. Carver T is man, he is the visionary. He is what we like to call him the dot connector. Carver T is a very interesting gentleman. He is a well respected and highly networked person, but that comes through his personal skills, his good fortune, I would say as well. He's a very hard worker, but he's a man that he's a people person. And so Carver T is known out here in Los Angeles ultimately for a lot of his involvement in music and the individuals and the partners and partners that he works with and industries that he works with. So I met him through a mutual friend. I was looking for somebody to pitch my idea to, and I wanted to get a couple of portfolio projects done. Just casually talking to a friend, he was like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to somebody," and met Carver for the first time, broke down the idea, and with him knowing what he knows and the people that he knows and whatnot, his mind started running away with, "Oh, I'm just the missing piece of. I got this kid right here with this idea and this tech. I have the content that he wants to become the MVP and the proof of concept for his work." And our relationship essentially just developed from that point onwards. So Carver T is not only a business partner, but a good friend. And he's one of the most vital pieces in Innov8 Tech with regards to, he pretty much handles essentially all of our entertainment relations side of things. But he also, dabbles in a lot of different industries with regards to investors and things of that nature. So he is a vital person in our company.
Dope. I always find it beautiful how, the people that you meet in life, and you just never know. You just never know. You just never know who's what and what can be what. But I strongly believe, and you mentioned this earlier, you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You never know who's watching. So that's why I always believe it's always good to be your best self, be your best person, present yourself well, because you never know who's watching, and like Michael Jackson saying, it always feels like somebody's watching me.
Absolutely.
And I got no
there was a excerpt in Malcolm X's the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was like one of the first early chapters, and he was like talking about like his childhood growing up, how his older brother was completely different from him, where his older brother was like the calm, quiet type, and Malcolm was like the loud, rambunctious kid that would yell and cry and throw tantrums for like food or dessert or whatever. And Malcolm reflected on that when he got older, and he was like, what this world taught me at a young age is that for you to get the things that you want, you have to make some noise, and you never know who's listening. So let your goals and ambitions and things be known. A closed mouth doesn't get fed, right?
That part.
So let your things out. A lot of people are scared of, oh, is this person going to steal my idea? Is this going to do this? It discourages them, where rather, you bounce ideas off of people, you let it be known, you let your ambitions and your things know, and you randomly start seeing the world manifest and conspire to making your dreams and things come true. So I'm a true believer in speaking your dreams. Let it be known, let the universe know, and then from there, let things happen. Do the work that is deserving of it behind it, and leave the rest up to chance. Handle what you can handle. Uh, do what you can do that's in your control, and then see where the chips lay.
I love that. I love that. I am definitely about it. Yeah, because otherwise, what do they say? Where are all the great ideas at? In the cemetery.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely, I highly believe in that. And Abdul, I want to thank you again for being on the Empire. So we just saw the Ramsey. If you guys didn't see, ladies and gentlemen, the Ramses, AR filter that you use on Snapchat. So I got a two-part question for you, right? How
Okay.
long does it take for something like that to be developed? And on the other end is, how do you decide as CEO and part of your team which ideas are good to go and how they come about? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say, it varies. Every project is different. There are things that can take, I would say, a few hours to a few days to put together. There are other productions that we've put together and activations that have taken months to finish. And things can be very simplified if people want something very similar, like simple, kind of like the Cowboy Bebop T-shirt, something of that nature is one of our more simpler activations. But like a live stream VR production that is ticketed and integrated with blockchain, and well, I mean, it can get really, really intricate. And then what usually determines that is just the client that we're working with, how involved do they want their activation to be, what their budget looks like, or what our projections for revenue look like, if it's worth all that work and development. So those are a lot of factors that go into it. I would say even up until now, I would say we're still at that phase where majority of people don't still truly understand AR and VR and its capabilities. And so our job right now is, when we introduce this to people, is we try to bait them with kind of the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest type of activations from a developmental standpoint on our end, that would also be the best bang for their buck to prove to them, one, the value of our product, to show them, the level of engagement and interest that it would garner from their audience, and then also something that wouldn't break their bank, because you have to slowly reel them in, but then once they see the value in it, once they do a project with you one time and you develop that relationship, then they keep coming back for more, because they see the value of what you do, and then they want the next higher up premium product. And I think that's one of the things. So know what you do and what you're good at, but also have things that are tier level based, where you're able to do something quickly, get people onboarded, get them familiar with the product that you have, and then slowly build them up to more premium experiences. So don't limit yourself just because you want I can take that T-shirt and I can make it do this and it can be, but maybe the person in the business that you're dealing with doesn't need all those features from the jump, because it might be too much for their audience to digest. So you have to start them off with smaller doses, something that they can easily get ready and adapt to. And then for you, from a developmental standpoint, you don't want to spend weeks or months developing something. If you can do things in a turnaround time of a day or two, get everything built out for them. One, it shows that you're a master at your craft and you're able to get things moving along quickly. And then that volume over a lot of things, sometimes that's what's needed. Do a lot of smaller things, delegate and conquer. I think that's kind of the approach with that. And then, sorry, your second question was?
The second question was, how do you decide which ones to move forward with when you have ideas?
Perfect. I'm a strong believer in introspective thinking. I like to put myself in the consumer standpoint of a lot of these activations that I do. And most of it stems from me as an individual thinking, how cool of an experience would this be for me to consume as a consumer? How dope would it be to have a VR live stream concert where I'm front row watching Drake at home, for $5? So I like to put myself in the shoes of the customer first, because I think that's kind of the ultimate end goal is, how do we make it where the consumer is the ultimate beneficiary of these activations experiences that we do. And if the consumer finds value in it, the businesses will have no options but to develop it because they don't want to lose those customers or they want to gain those customers. So for me, I always build all the activations and things that we do coming from the introspective standpoint of, as a consumer, this is what I would like to see. And so I build it with that in mind. And then now I work out the details with my team of which companies should we pitch this to, or a company reaches out to us with an idea. How do we understand their objectives, their needs, and their wants? And how can we cultivate for them a campaign that meets that, exceeds that, and give them different options based on the resources that they want or what their ultimate objective is. So it's a collaborative process. It's a process where, and then the more you do, sometimes you just do things and see how people respond to it. And if they respond favorably to it, it's something to pursue and further develop. Sometimes you might get a cold response and you might say, maybe the world's not ready for it. At the moment, you shelf it, you wait for an opportunity, but you diversify, and then eventually, you start knowing what works, what doesn't, what people are interested in, what aren't. And then, you just keep creating.
Yeah, trial and error. I like the thing that you said about, and I think it kind of goes back to like the substance and working with people and like start with a lower tier, because, sometimes people need to see that you are the person that you say you are and you can deliver products, because there are a lot of scammers out there, and hey, shout out to them for making those problems. But people want to make sure that, hey, you are what you say you are, you can deliver. And then once you can deliver, then you can start building this trust and a reputation. And, it's amazing that word of mouth is still the most powerful tool on the planet. Yeah. So being referred by somebody else is
and this level of tech, it's like, it's still very abstract, and a lot of times it's hard for people to digest exactly what it is and what it does, no matter how many times you try to explain it to them. Until they see it is when they start to grasp it. And then what I also say to people when you try to pitch certain businesses or individuals is personalize it for them. If I'm going to go demo or propose an idea, to Kobe, I'm going to use something Kobe related that personalizes it for him, because when they see themselves in the actual thing, they know it's feasible. Instead of you showing them a demo of something that they completely have no relationship to, and it just feels like you're trying to sell them a product. But when they see themselves, you created a 3D model of me, and I can use this as my 3D avatar on my social medias, and using AI, I can replicate my voice and then add a script and it will speak, it's like you got to personalize it. And I think, that just goes into kind of the sales aspect of entrepreneurship is, sell, how to sell, how to pitch, how to onboard people, how to get them interested in what you do. Your product is there, but now you got to sell them on and know who you're talking to and what they prioritize. Are you trying to sell them a product to solve a solution, to solve a problem that they have? So are you coming with a solution? Are you understanding what their problems is? Are you giving them a way for them to, minimize their problems and their headache and their, costs? Find out what is important to them, and you find that out by getting to know people. So it might not be, you close out a client in the first, introductory phone call or whatever it might be, but sit and listen and just be human. Figure out what they want, figure out what's important to them, and then you go back and brainstorm, come up with an idea, and then come back with a solution for them.
Yeah, we're not showing Kobe pictures of NASCAR and saying, "Hey, this is what it is. Get her done."
Exactly.
Abdul, can you give us like a brief example of one of the marketing strategies you use to help with a company? with the
Absolutely.
yeah.
One of the marketing strategies that we did, I would say, I'm trying to think of what would be my favorite one. Favorite one.
It could be
In
any.
terms of, are you a specific product that we did or how we got the project?
Well, just basically because I know you guys do a lot of marketing, like you say, for other
Yeah.
companies. So I just wanted to kind of give an idea to our audience, like, okay, like, what does he mean when he says marketing? Like, what does that mean? How did he market for a company? Like, okay, Amazon needs marketing, so how could he help someone like Amazon or someone that you helped in the past? Can you give us like a short example of what you did for them to help with their marketing team?
Yeah, sure. So we work with a lot of I would say a lot of e-commerce brands. Again, also a lot of people in the entertainment industry with regards to merchandising. And then some of them is just like, conceptualizing some of their ideas. So it might be a new collection of, a jumpsuit that they want to, sell and promote, added to their, storefronts. So, okay, I'll give you an example. There was a brand who had a brick and mortar store, and their their storefront was beautiful. Now, their problem was getting people to physically come to the store to purchase their products. And they had this whole idea where our brand was not just a product, it is an experience. And that experience was really cultivated at the brick and mortar store. So our idea was, okay, you have a really beautiful store. What we can do is we can add an AR, mural that becomes kind of there's a social media where it's like, the painted angel wings where people like go on certain locations and girls like take Instagram photos with like, the angel wings, or like a beautiful mural that might be, painted outside of a certain store. Our idea was, okay, create something that would draw attention on social media, and by adding the AR aspect, it would only get activated if people actually come to the physical location. Now, you incentivize people once they come to the store by embedding a discount on their purchases if they activate the mural or whatever it might be at the storefront, and they get like 10% off their purchase that day. And all they have to do is tag the store, post on the social media, try to use customers' organic following to give and drive more attention and marketing for that brick and mortar store. So in that kind of case study, is not only did we incentivize people for organic marketing by making them or incentivizing them to post on social media the unique AR mural that was at the storefront, but because the AR only is activated at the storefront, we increased their foot traffic, which was their main objective, because their product in their store was so pretty and beautiful that their product essentially sold itself if you saw it in person and if you experienced the experience of the store. Their problem was, how do we get people to actually come to the store? And so little things like that, I think, are one of the unique cases of marketing strategies that we build out for certain clients. Other ones would kind of be like, we did a campaign for Macy a few years ago where, during the holiday season, obviously we know Macy's does the Thanksgiving Day parade. And they're in charge of the big balloons out in New York City, and they have the Macy's store out in Manhattan. So they had like a new little character, this animated character that they had the idea for, and they actually commissioned us to 3D model it for them to use in their animated commercial, and then ultimately use it to make like this really interactive storefront display case where you go and you scan the window and the little things animate from inside the store.
Cool.
And whatnot. So we did that for them a few years ago when we developed their, what was he called? I'm trying to remember the reindeer. Tiptoe. It's called Tiptoe the Reindeer.
Cool.
So we did that. So they already knew that their marketing campaign was multi-strategied, that they wanted to have certain things, but they needed the assets for it. So we helped them build those assets for their different levels of marketing. And then, lastly, I would say one of the coolest by far, if I had to pick two of my favorite marketing strategies, period, that I've seen probably in the last 10 years, number one was Pokemon Go. And I think Pokemon Go really put augmented reality on the map.
Okay. People
So
probably don't even think that's augmented reality until you actually
yeah,
mention it.
Pokemon Go, it was like what Jordan did for the NBA
I love
for
that.
augmented reality.
I love
So
that.
I think that level of fandom, audience engagement, product, content, marketing, uh, secondary sales of like outfits and whatnot, like amazing, amazing. The second one is the Barbie movie that came out last year.
Okay, explain.
I mean, $100 million for a marketing budget is ridiculous, but they were so multi-tiered. They had filters on social media. They had billboard and media and digital placement. They turned Google pink when you typed in Barbie or anything like that. I mean, their marketing was so multi-leveled, and it's like I see that and I'm like, look, conventional ways of marketing are over. It's all about engagement. It's all about immersiveness. It's all about interactivity. So add a unique platform and an infrastructure, come up with unique ideas, work with brands that have a reputation and a solid product, and it's going to get really, really gnarly in the next couple of years because now
Wow.
people are really starting to see that they see the value of the tech, and people are itching for new ways of interaction. So those two, I think, are kind of like my little pillars of things I aspire and look up towards. Pokemon Go and the marketing strategy behind that Barbie movie were pretty insane.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I think we all remember how the fad was, especially I think it's nostalgia for a lot of people for the Pokemon Go type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I shouts out to the Barbie movie for doing their marketing campaign. I've heard terrible things about the actual movie, but good things about the marketing campaign.
Hey,
But
$100 million budget does not hurt.
I'm sorry, say it again.
$100 million marketing budget definitely does not hurt.
If
It
you got
allows
it,
you a lot of
you could
things.
just throw $100 million. Sure, why
Yeah.
not? That's a different lifestyle right there. That's a different brand. Abdul, what current projects are you guys working on in Innov8 Technologies?
Well, we have a few. We have a few that are pending at the moment. Um, I don't know how much I can say
Yes, whatever
in
you
depth
can
about
say.
them, but we are trying to get a merchandise licensing deal, or hopefully at least a marketing activation done with a couple of sports leagues with regards to like memorabilia or like t-shirt fan engagements that they get at events at some of the games and live events that they do. Um, a really cool project that is taking forever, but when it does go through, I think will be really monumental. Is we want to put together a full-on kind of like a VR tour of the Serengeti National Park out in Tanzania, and so we wanted to give people kind of like a VR safari in a very sustainable, equitable manner. So we're working with government officials over there and some business partners and things of that nature to try to develop a VR, essentially, nature documentary series that is completely produced in virtual reality, narrated in different languages, and ultimately monetized by uh, the Tanzanian government for them to generate tourism revenue in a sustainable manner, so it's not impacting and forcing them to do physical safaris or as much as they do um, out there in the national park. So those are kind of the two projects that we're uh, really focused on and working hard on. Those two are kind of taking a little bit more longer to get off the ground, but those will be monumental. And then in the near future we have the BET Awards are coming up at the end of this upcoming month. So we have a couple of activations and marketing things that we're doing for some clients that will be at that event. That's kind of what's on our plate in the near term future.
Bro, that's super exciting. And number one, I just want to congratulate you, Abdul, for everything and that you've done and your team has done, and for the vision to go where it's going. And it's cool that I see that we're on the same, or that I'm on the same page, because when I mentioned about bringing sound of the actual live place, and we're talking about the zoo and then the spatial sound,
Yep.
so or the safari in Tanzania. So that's very exciting and very beautiful. And also, you'll be helping a country that could probably definitely use some tourist money, or American dollars, as they say, to help it out. Abdul, what's one thing, something that most people don't know about you, maybe even close people? What's something that most people don't know about you? And it could be anything. It could be anything.
I mean, if you didn't get it from this podcast, I'm a pretty vocal person, and I don't I'm an open book. Something that people don't know. Ooh, that's tough. I have no idea.
It could be anything. It could be like, hey, I love Pop-Tarts with milk or cheese. It could be anything.
I'm trying to think. I want to give you something kind of interesting. I want to give you nothing plain.
Gotcha. It's okay, man.
I would say I would say that I'm a lot crazier than people might like. I might come off as like the calm, maybe a little reserved, a little professional all the time, but I'm definitely not the shy type, and I'm always down for spontaneous, crazy adventures. And what I have in mind for my next bucket list item is I want to go shark cage diving. I don't know if my mom wants to hear that, but that is what I want to do next.
Hi, Mom. Your son wants to go with the great whites.
Yeah, I'm gonna just be like, I got a project in South Africa.
That part. She's like, well, at least he wants to go with those great whites and not the other great white. So
exactly. Yeah, shark cage diving is definitely something that's been brewing in my mind recently.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, Abdul. Whatever tickles your spine. Have you gone bungee jumping already?
Not yet. I don't think I would do bungee jumping.
Okay.
As crazy as I am. I would skydive, but not bungee jump.
Okay.
Yeah, I did cliff. I've done cliff diving before, which was pretty fun. But yeah, skydiving for sure. Shark cage diving next, or that would be before the skydiving. But yeah, I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to certain things like that.
Well, it also gives stories to tell in that experience. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I guess sometimes it could be addicting, doing those things. And when you mentioned skydiving, made me think of Redman. I think he's certified now, professional skydiver. So shout out to Redman.
Yeah, I think one time out of a plane is enough for me.
Say it one more time.
I said I think one time for me out of a plane is more than enough.
It's good enough, right? It's like
one time.
If God wanted us to jump out of planes, we would have wings.
Exactly.
If he wanted us in the ocean, we'd have gills. So very interesting. Abdul, shukran for being on. Can you please let actually, this is more so up my alley here. Let's say 100 years pass by, Abdul, 250 years pass by, 500 years pass by. What would you like your empire to look like, whether it's in Innov8 technologies, family life, being a part of the community, inequity, billing, or prevention? What would you like your empire to look like half a millennia from now?
If you asked me this question 10 years ago, I think my answer would be a lot different from what it is now. I've always been the ambitious type. I've always loved and been a student of history. I've always been fascinated with people like, Achilles and, the lure of people that transcended time in history. And I would say, I would want my legacy to be remembered. I want to build an empire that does this and that and that. I think as I've gotten a little older now, I started seeing that really doesn't matter to me anymore. I felt like there was a vainness in that. I just want to live, enjoy life, make the people around me and every interaction I have be a positive one where people remember me in good light. Remember me as a fun-loving, lighthearted, ambitious person that wanted to do something crazy in the world and did, and left a positive impact on the world, whether it be big or small. I would say my biggest fear in life has always been to be mediocre and just be average. So I've always, dreamt big, thought big. I'm the type where I say, I jump in the water and figure out how to swim. I don't throw caution to the wind. I take calculated risks. But at the end, it's like I have that impulsive nature in me because I feel like genuinely in life you have nothing to lose but all to gain, and that's the way I want to live every day of my life and do, and build my empire in that way. I have nothing to lose. Innov8 Tech can blow up and be the next, Apple, or it can, crash and burn tomorrow. But just the journey that I've been on and the things that it's already taken me in and what it helped me be at this point, I will forever cherish. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So 250 years from now, I just want to be remembered as, hey, there was a crazy person named Abdul Gieballa that had big visions and ideas. He was a good person. He loved life, and he left the world a little bit better than when he found it.
I love that. I love that. There's a crazy man named Abdul Gieballa, and he went swimming with sharks, and we love that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It made me think of it made me think like that would kind of be a cool immersive thing, would be swimming with sharks.
See, now you're thinking.
Right? I'm on board, right? I'm on board, right?
Yeah. Knock out two birds with one stone, right?
Yeah. I like to say save two kids with one hand. I like to say that. Because I think a lot of our nursery rhymes are negative.
Yeah.
Or that type of sayings. Like why are we killing birds? What happened? What did the bird do?
Change the perspective. I like that.
Yeah. So I'd like to say save two kids with one hand. You know what I mean? But Abdul, I love that, man. Our impact matters a lot, right? And I like the saying, which, you have nothing to lose but more to gain. And I love that. And I think a lot of people are scared to do things. And so I'm glad we get to meet and speak and hear. And can you please share with everybody how they can find you, network with you, hire with you, maybe invest in you? Can you please let everybody know how they can do those things with you?
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. I want to, thank everybody that tuned in, anybody that's watched this after it went live. Obviously, our information is in the description below this video. Our email is listed, and there's also a website that links some of our AR and VR offerings that people can try out and play with themselves. And then all our social medias and information and contact information are also there, so they can reach out to us, via email, via social medias. All that information is tagged below.
Gotcha. And for the people who are just listening, can you just spell it out what's where they can find you for people who are just listening?
Yeah, so on social media, we're on all social major media platforms. It's at Innov8. So Innov8 is spelled INNOV, the number 8, Tech Corp.
Awesome. And like Abdul said, for those who are tuning in and can't spell or whatever, having a hard time, there's copy, paste, or just click the link in the description, and that should take you there. And, I want to thank Abdul. I want to thank all you guys who tuned in, even if you're watching the replay. Hey, thank you guys. We learned a lot. We learned about his Sudanese background, how he's a LA fan all day. Don't talk about his Lakers. Don't mess with his Lakers. He's going to come for you. He's going to come for you. He's going to make an AI about you getting snapped. No, I was joking. But he talked about how he worked with people like Kobe and Travis Scott, about how, believe it or not, that Snapchat is on the cutting edge, basically, of this AR world. And we learned so much about him and his company. And I just want to thank him. I want to thank all you guys. This is The Empire. Please like the video if you haven't. Subscribe to the channel. We have many other great guests. If you want to support the work that we're doing, if you believe in it and like it, all your contributions go back into supporting the channel. And we have things like CASHAPP, which is $THEE Empire Podcast. We also have PayPal and Venmo, which is in the description. And we appreciate everyone's contributions to keep this great work alive. And other than that, is there anything else, Abdul, you want to tell people before we get out of here?
No, I just want to thank you, Antonio, for bringing me on here. It was an honor. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it and hope to do it soon. I want to thank everybody that tuned in to watch, and hopefully, they learned a little bit something about AR and VR. Hopefully, they can take, let their minds marinate with some of these ideas and concepts that we discussed. And hopefully, I'm waiting for the next crazy idea to come my way, and hopefully you're a part of it.
Yeah, I look forward to it, man. Let's do the alley oop and the dunk, and let's have fun. Let's educate, and of course, let's make that paper. I'm with it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate you. And everybody, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. And peace.